Looking at here is a classical satanic altar setup. Now, there are more than one type of satanic group. There are rogue satanic groups where you have a bunch of young people that get together and they read books such as the Satanic Bible by Anton Sanzer-LaVey, or some of the stuff that is published by the Temple of Set, which is also another large church of Satan. But now an organized satanic group has an organized way of setting up its altar. What you're looking at here is a classical satanic altar setup. It's very Spartan. 2 candle holders. One candle would have a white, one would have a black. You'd have a Baphomet candle in the center, or a Mendes goat is what it's called. You would have a male candle on the left-hand side and a female candle on the right-hand side. You would have a skull, which is considered the barrier of death, and a bell to ring for each one of the 9 satanic statements. And they would ring it. You would also have 2 ceremonial daggers. One ceremonial dagger is actually used in directing the forces of magic, the way occultists would do that, as in directing their powers. And the other dagger, which would be called a bolane, would actually be used in ritual work. If I were going to sacrifice someone, I would use my bolane. It's considered a working knife. So in a satanic altar setup, you're always going to look for 2 knives. Okay, what you're looking at here is a basic witchcraft setup. Now, the difference is you don't see the bells. You don't see the Satanic Bible. And you'll see a couple extra things here. For instance, most witches are very adept at using the tarot. Witches are very, very big on an art called scrying or fortune-telling. Another interesting addition is that, notice, the candle holders are wooden. Witches perceive themselves to be nature-centered religious belief systems, so that they use as many natural elements as possible. The other thing is, instead of having a ceremonial dagger like we have here that would be used in Satanism, they would just use a very simple 1 dagger. That's called an athame. Now, the athame is used when they charge the wine, which would be in the chalice. The athame would be used when they charge the wine, which would be in the chalice. The salt, which would be in the salt bowl, and the water, which would be in the water bowl, as well as the incense. Another interesting addition we have here is Kyrnos. This is one of the gods of the witches. And the center for any witchcraft altarpiece will have either Kyrnos, which is the god of the witches, or Diana. Another thing that witches will often have on their altar is a mortar and pestle, because they work a lot with pharmakeia, or various different incenses. Now, this is an incense we have here that would be used in ritual practice. Notice they're very bright in color. There are many different kinds. These are the kind of things that you might find left over at a crime scene. You might find little piles of colored, it looks like chalk, but it's not chalk. It's actually incense. And if you were to take it and smell it, it usually has a very fragrant smell. Another thing that you'll find is usually there's chalk. There's usually a piece of red chalk and a piece of white chalk. This is used to draw a circle around the ritual area, and it's called a boundary between the worlds. And then what they will do is make various different magical symbols in those circles, believing that these symbols will seal off an area. Now, witches are known for their artwork, their drawing of symbols, their use of colored powders. and of course the use of natural products like wooden candle holders, even wooden knives. And so this would be more indicative of witchcraft. As you have seen, the difference between the items you might find on an altar from the various different occult styles is subtle. When you pay attention, you'll see that there is indeed a distinct difference. These differences will give you the... There you go. You can see from here 666 and an eye. Now that eye above 666 is an Egyptian eye, the eye of Anubis. So I can tell by looking at this eye that these people that were up here were into ceremonial magic. These aren't witches. These are definitely Satanists. You look at these dumpsters. See, this is how they talk to each other. Now, what you see here, this is gang graffiti, okay? And this is how gangs talk to each other, okay? But now this is how occultists talk to each other. This here is a psilocybin mushroom. So probably they had a psilocybin ritual, which is not uncommon. Occultists are known for using peyote and psilocybin. And so this was probably a psilocybin ritual. Okay, here you go. Shem Hemfarash is a satanic invocation, and Halley is also part of a satanic invocation. There is a book out called The Greater Key of Solomon, and in The Greater Key of Solomon, you will see on the seal of Solomon this word. All right, from what I can tell, from the graffiti and everything that I've seen, and what I see here on the concrete, it looks like they actually had the ritual here. Now, there's an N here for north, and there's an S over here for south. Now, while these are not the true directions, obviously someone had a bad sense of direction, I'm assuming that this is where they actually had their ritual. One of the reasons why they would use this particular area to have a ritual is it is on concrete, and it's a nice open area. When we used to come up and have rituals, and we had a group, we would look for an open, flat space. This is an open, flat space. This would be an ideal place